What's up, guys? This is Heiss, and welcome back to Twerp News, this week in rail preservation news. Before we get to the new things, there's a few admin things that we need to talk about. Since the last episode, I have received 33 email submissions from viewers, and that's not including the stuff I find. As I always like to say, that is a great problem to have, but many of the submissions weren't really current news, which is the goal for the show. That's the whole this week part. That said, all of the submissions were cool, be it older news or showing off a lesser known restoration, both of which are valid and valuable. That said, I want the focus of the show to be the current news, and I want to keep it on the shorter side such that it's possible to make this without it being a gigantic chore on my end, or on your end to watch. As such, I'm proposing we close out the show with two new segments. The Old News Catchup, where we can feature a few interesting stories that are somewhat recent but not yet covered by the show, and also Small Restoration Spotlight, where we show off an important but perhaps lesser known project that doesn't necessarily have current news. Let me know how you like those in this episode in the comment section down below. And as always, if you've got submissions, please send them to the channel email in the description. Now, on to the news! Chris Huffman of Huffman Machining Solutions has announced that they've almost finished producing their replica Nathan 4000C injectors, with help from Valvetrol, the PRR T1 Steam Locomotive Trust, and the Eccentric Engineer. Side note to Eccentric Engineer or to Chris, if you'd ever want to collaborate on a video, I'd absolutely love to. The 4000 series Nathan injector is what the really big stuff used back in the day. Flow rates over 10,000 gallons per hour. The T1 Trust is interested in these for their project, of course, but many other large locomotives will be utilizing these new injectors soon. It's a really cool project. From the Coopersville and Marne Railway in western Michigan, Car 6 had electrical work complete, and they installed a restroom in the car for their Santa trains. Additionally, they've reported that Grand Trunk Western Caboose 75004 has been moved to Coopersville to start restoration. The Rhinelander Railroad Museum has announced their Christmas open house, with equipment on display, free speeder rides, and a display layout. It's an entirely free event, running December 12th through the 14th. In Colorado narrow gauge news, several interesting things have happened recently. The 492 at the Cumbres and Toltec has had its boiler removed from the frame and its ongoing restoration to service. Yes, that's 491's sister. At the Durango and Silverton, the Denver and Rio Grande Western 211 Combine has almost been completed, ultimately to be displayed at Lake City, Colorado. And also at the DNS, our RGS 0404, a piece from the Colorado Railroad Museum, is almost finished to be used in charters with the RGS 20 when she's operating at the Durango and Silverton next year. And then it'll be sent back to the museum. In our own HYCE news of that variety, on February 22nd, 2026, I'll be hosting my own dedicated heist charter of the RGS 20 while it's on the Durango and Silverton. Many more details to come on that. Keep your ears open. It's gonna be fun. In big railroad news, Metra in Chicago has won a $19.3 million lawsuit against the Union Pacific over COVID restrictions, where UP had delayed allowing the conductors to walk through trains to collect fares later than their other operators did, which led to challenges when issues came up and reduced fare revenue. Operation Toy Train, a fantastic nonprofit that operates special trains across the US each holiday season to collect toys for the Marine Toys for Tots Foundation and other local charities, has announced that they are not going to be able to return their rail cars to Port Jervis, New York, upon completion of their services this year, which required that they cancel their stop in Port Jervis. They've announced that to help as many children in western Orange County as they can, they're extending their time at the nearby Middletown stop, which is going to be their last of the season. There is a lot more to this situation, and unfortunately it seems like another case of stupid and shady local politics affecting a good organization, as we've seen too many times in rail preservation. This is the exact sort of situation which made the late Jim Wren make his first rule of preservation be, control your house. If you don't own your own site, station, tracks, etc., you're in danger. Obviously, in many cases, that's hard, unfeasible, or just downright impossible. But if you need another example why that's so important, this news is it. Keep an eye out for more news on this. It's getting interesting. New York's Adirondack Railroad has acquired the former Louisville and Nashville number 309, an Alco FA2, which had previously been at the SMS Rail Services in New Jersey. The Baltimore Streetcar Museum has provided a request for qualifications for woodworkers out there, especially those familiar with streetcars, trolleys, or interurbans, to help with many museums in the eastern US. Much more info in the link in the description, and as always, I'll include as many links as I can. Please provide them with your submission if you can. The Heber Valley Railroad in Utah has acquired 2 historic railcars to preserve and operate. Santa Fe Pleasure Dome 503, Plaza Santa Fe, and DNRGW Lunch Counter Tavern 1291, the Royal Gorge. In Pennsylvania, York 17, a new build 440, has finished its 1472 inspection and is back in service. CPKC's Holiday Train has started operation and it'll run through December 21st, scheduled down in the description below. Here in Colorado, the Hudson Terminal Railroad received a former Amtrak GE 80-tonner, number 1100. Now, on to the plethora of news from our friends down under, who have got one of the most fantastic preservation scenes in the whole world. Down in Victoria, Steam Rail Victoria has completed the heavy overhaul on Y112, the locomotive operating for the first time in 3 years on November 22nd. The locomotive was built in 1889, making it one of the oldest operable locomotives in Australia. There's a video of it linked in the description. Also in Victoria, the Puffing Billy Railway, which is absolutely spectacular, and I hope you'll watch my linked video of it, is celebrating its 125th anniversary this December with a community open day on December 14th. Anyone who lives within 10 kilometers of a station can have a free ride. In New South Wales, the Richmond Vale Railway Museum has announced that they've met regulatory compliance from the authorities in order to resume operations after several years of being shut down. Also in New South Wales, the Tallowood Mountain Rail Trail have successfully certified the boiler on their 1878-built NSWGR engine 1919, which makes the 1919 the oldest operational locomotive in Australia, taking the title from the Y112 we mentioned earlier. The locomotive ran in revenue service until 1972, which is wild to think about for all of us stateside. 94 years of operation in revenue service. Thank you to William Adams for essentially sharing almost all of this Australian news my way. In Queensland, as part of the 160th anniversary of rail in Queensland this year, Queensland Rail, the state government operator of all passenger services in the state, has issued $160,000 in grants, up to $20,000 each, to 8 heritage rail groups in the state, with projects that are receiving the money varying from steam locomotives, heritage diesel, hydraulic locomotives, rolling stock, maintenance of way projects, and infrastructure upgrades. Congratulations to all the groups that received those grants. The full info, as always, in the description. Also in Queensland, Downsteam Toowoomba has announced its mainline tour program for early 2026 across the Cape Gauge network using locomotives like the Pride of Toowoomba, or 2000 class rail motors. Trips are scheduled in January, February, and March, and the full details are available on Downsteam Toowoomba's Facebook page. William requested I say Toowoomba as many times as possible and share this meme. That is Toowoomba, Toowoomba. Now over to the other across the pond, in Europe. At the Museum Bert Spoorweg, there is a platform being built at the station Bokello. I swear half of the reasoning behind some of these international submissions must be make the Americans say a very unfamiliar word, and I'm doing my best as always. The platform there has been aging, and the museum has taken this opportunity to restore it to its 1920 configuration. In Austria, at the Eisenbahnmuseum Strasshof, They're building a new depot to house electric locomotives and passenger coaches, hoping to be finished by 2027. The shed is planned to be 150 meters long, and the first 5 of 6 segments have been raised. They also plan to return 17C-372, built 1891, into service next spring. Now, to South America for the first time on this show. In Brazil, the Christmas tours of ABPF 204 Mali, a one-of-a-kind operational locomotive, have been announced. In Argentina, the R Ferro Club in Remedois de Escalada have put a Vulcan Foundry 462 class 12E3925 back in service. It's being used in a Netflix series with an Argentinian actor. In old but interesting news, our old news catch-up, a 150-year-old steam locomotive was found buried on a beach near Wanganui Port after being covered for more than 75 years. Contractors were doing work and hit something hard while digging. It ended up being Skunk, an 1876-built locomotive, which was known to be in the area but never found, and it's amazing it was found in this manner. And finally, on to this week's small restoration spotlight. The Shelburne Falls Trolley Museum of Massachusetts, a quite small but important trolley museum that presently has one car operating on 1,200 feet of track, has line car 3283, built 1949, under restoration. They have a matching grant of $33,000 with $15,000 raised so far, and they want to complete the rest of that funding. Link in the description if you'd like to help, as always. Anyways, guys, that's going to cover it for this week's edition of This Week in Rail Preservation News. I hope the new format works, because, goodness, it was so many submissions to go through, and they were all so cool and important, but not all of it was news, not all of it was even, like, recent news. It was just, hey, look, we have this cool project, and, you know, rather than featuring 6 or 7 of those each week, it's like, okay, we'll cherry pick and have those things in and try and focus on the news. So hopefully that worked out for you guys. Let me know what you think. As always, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch y'all next time.